Hello, my name is Angela Cox and I am the Mindset Mentor, and this is the Mindset Mentor Meets podcast. Now, my aim is to discover and share the secrets of success. You'll hear engaging and uplifting interviews with business leaders at the top of their game, all primed to deliver bucketfuls of value and inspiration. We'll bring practical tips, success strategies, and golden nuggets of motivation to help you unleash your absolute potential. Now, please do like, share, and leave a review if you love this podcast. It really does help others to find us. Thanks for listening, and let's jump in now and meet this week's fabulous guest. Hello, lovely listeners, it's Angela. Now, on the day that I interviewed David Grevemberg, he had to travel to attend a meeting at the last moment. So you'll be able to hear background noise throughout this recording. We obviously didn't want to miss the opportunity to interview him. He has so many amazing things to say. So please forgive us for the background noise that you'll be able to hear. My guest today is David Grevemberg. Now, David is the CEO at the Commonwealth Games Federation, and he's held that role since 2014. He's a former competitive wrestler and has been awarded a CBE, and he now works tirelessly to build peaceful and prosperous communities globally, something that I can't wait to find out more about. David, I'm absolutely thrilled to have you on the show today. Now, we're coming out of lockdown currently in the UK, and I'm just really keen to know how you've been coping with it all.
I'm really nice to be here, Angela, and it's a real pleasure to meet you and to have the opportunity to speak with you today. Yeah, it's certainly been a journey over the past couple of weeks. It's, I don't know how many times I've used the word unprecedented, and I actually have read a fact to myself that I try to limit the use of that word.
Never say it again. I know.
Exactly. Well, look, I think it's on one side, it's been very grounding. I said to someone, I haven't been this grounded since high school. It's, in terms of really having my feet on the ground, I typically travel extensively, both on a weekly basis, but monthly, I'm kind of around the world working with the Commonwealth through sport. And so it has forced me to be at home longer than I've been used to. But what that's also done is give me a lot more time to reflect and think and reprioritize, recalibrate. And that's been a real positive. I would say that where it's been more challenging has been on the side of working too much in the sense of I'm not working from home, I'm living at work. And
that's a good point.
That has been something I've had to be really cognizant of, from 7 a.m. starts to 11 p.m. finishes. It's been pretty relentless. So it's because of the nature of the work that we do. When we're going to bed, New Zealand is waking up, and when it's mid-flight in the Caribbean. So in terms of midday, and so I'm having to kind of continue to run a global organization from the comfort of my home, which sometimes can be a bit uncomfortable, but at the same time, I think we've managed to get through it, and I've actually learned a lot about myself, but also about things I can do smarter and recalibrate on as we move, and less expensive as well as we move forward.
Yeah, that kind of time to reflect has really helped us all, I think, to look at our ways of working and is there anything that we can do differently?
Indeed.
So that's always a benefit. Now, I mean, your whole career just sounds absolutely fascinating, and I'm sure we'll cover some of the aspects of it, but I really want to get you into the success mindset right from the outset of this conversation. And so I have this thing called the shake your pom-poms moment, which is about you being able to be your own cheerleader. And share with us, if you don't mind, your 3 proudest moments.
Oh, well, I think one is getting a wrestling scholarship to to university, which really enabled me to move from my hometown of New Orleans in the States and go and pursue my education, but also continue to pursue my dreams in sport. And that was really a special moment when I found out that I had achieved that. And in the States, that is that's quite formidable because of our astronomical tuition fees, and but also many athletic careers start and end in high school. And so to be able to continue that on to university and beyond was something that was fantastic. And I felt really, really fortunate. And so that was something I was really, really proud of. Second, the birth of my children.
Obviously.
And that's not to sound overly cliche, but that is just it was one of the most defining moments of my life. Gave me such perspective in terms of the world is not all about me. And I continue to learn from them every single day, which has been just a blessing.
How many children have you got, David?
I have 2 children. I have a boy and a girl, and they're now in their teens, mid and late teens, and they're just I'm so proud of both of them and what they're achieving in their own lives and own right. And I feel very fortunate to be a part of their life. And then really, I'd have to say, Glasgow 2014. The opening ceremony of the Glasgow 2014 Commonwealth Games really was, one of the proudest moments in my career and probably in my life, from the point of having worked so intensely and being so immersed in a project with 46,000 people under your duty of care as a chief executive. It's, it really focuses the mind, but then also having 71 nations and territories engage in an amazing celebration, commemoration, and just, call to action was incredible. And that call to action, one of the things that we did in the opening ceremony is we partnered with UNICEF and raised £6.5 million, which was a global first to change the lives of children. And so all of those component pieces, in addition to being able to attract the likes of Usain Bolt to the event being really regarded as a success, I felt very lucky to have the role I had in it and to have played that role and just be a part of that moment, and have really found a newfound home in Scotland as a result of that.
And I mean, talk about an anchor point for your life. The pride, I can imagine, flowing through your body in that moment, standing in the opening ceremony arena. I mean, ever you have a bad day moving forward, you can go back to that, can't you?
I do, and that is something that you putting things in perspective. It taught me, it gave me a great degree of confidence in that. I really felt like I didn't have to prove myself to myself anymore.
Yes.
Which was quite important, was that I actually, for the first time, have had a sense of being content and fulfilled. In terms of, wow, you're actually, competent and capable, and and with the capacity that I had to do that, can accomplish what you set out to accomplish. And that's even with my sporting career and the motivations around that, in terms of, running to be better. It was the first time I really felt that at that moment that, wow, I'm really, really proud of what we've achieved. And I can really, sit back and really start to see, how do I empower and respect and protect and promote others. And that was, So there was certainly a turning point for me through that whole journey to Glasgow 2014. But then particularly once Glasgow 2014 had the success it had, it was really a launch pad for me.
That's so powerful. So that realization in that moment that you had reached the point where you were enough, that becomes the point where you're then able to give to other people, to empower other people, because you're not constantly striving to reach that good enough potential.
Exactly. And you really start to move beyond kind of your selfish endeavors, and really start to, we all talk a great game when it comes comes to that. But I think really being able to do that with the right confidence and the right perspectives. I learned so much, and I had so many people who kept me in check. And there's a wonderful expression here in Scotland that says that people don't let you get too far past your post. We'll pull you back if
feet on the ground.
Feet on the ground, exactly. Off the high horse, which is great. And I think from that perspective, if you look at things through Maslow's hierarchy, the first two, of the 5 stages of up the pyramid, those first 2 stages, in terms of our physical needs, when those are met, then we get into this kind of psychological, duel with ourselves. And, what I've really realized is that where people are probably most held back from really going to the final stage of self-actualization is the stage before, and that is esteem. We let our egos get the best of us.
Absolutely.
And, we either don't keep them in check or we don't know how to manage our ego. And the esteem that comes with that, both low esteem or high esteem, can be very volatile. And I think, going through various experiences in our lives helps us to manage that. And so when you get to a place of balance, really only then are you able to really self-actualize. And I would say that I don't think I understood what self-actualization really was until Glasgow 2014.
It's amazing. It's brilliant to hear you talk about it. And I wonder whether there are moments post 2014 where you still have to remind yourself of that. Because is it easy to kind of get back to that place of low self-esteem sometimes?
Yeah, I think I always keep myself in check, and I always try to give people the social license to challenge me. Yeah. And that I have a firm belief that positions of authority are not merely titles. They are earned roles that we are privileged to inherit. But you have to earn respect. Just because you have a title and a role doesn't mean people are going to give you respect, and doesn't mean that people are going to necessarily do what you want them to do. And that takes a lot of self-reflection and reminding yourself that that you are a part of the puzzle and not the entire puzzle, and that you need to know when to lead and when to follow. And so some of the things I've tried to do over the years is to, by keeping myself in check in a number of ways, is when the times are tough, I like to lead from the front and take the arrows for the team and shape the organization and really forge ahead. When times are great, I like to lead from behind and empower and really celebrate the success of my team. And so that's something for me that has really worked over the years to really, okay, is this a time to lead from the front, or is this a time to lead from the back and let others lead? And that's been a really, really important lesson over the past several years, and particularly with the work that I do with the Commonwealth, because quite often the systems we've developed in sport, in governments, in organizing committees, and most institutions are cultures of hierarchy. Yes. And in the case, or patriarchal hierarchies, and we're in a place now, because of social media, because of our digital connectivity, that those traditional hierarchical constructs are no longer kind of the basis in which people interact and build cultures.
I agree.
And so what that has forced me to do is to really keep myself in check as we as I try to get the best out of myself and my team and of course and the people I serve. So
and it is that service mindset, isn't it, in terms of you are there to support the people that work with you and serve your customers, your clients, your athletes, rather than you being the center of the universe. And it's a real demonstration that you've got that imbalance. It's brilliant to hear.
Exactly. And which is and I have to say, I think that is something that is not, some days you do it better than others.
Yes.
So and I think one of the things I've learned through the years is that we need to ultimately have rest and downtime is critical, and I still struggle with that, in terms of. But I think today, now better than ever, I recognize the value of sleep. Sleep is important to any type of leadership.
Absolutely. We all need the rest. It's just taking it, as you say, can sometimes be a challenge. Now, I'm really keen to get under the skin of the pivot point, because an athlete, you were a professional athlete in wrestling, and there must come a point, of course, there does come a point when you can't do that anymore because of age and different things. And you have to pivot and find a different way of working. And there are lots of people out there in corporate careers who are wondering about retraining. Indeed, I was one of them a few years ago. How do you lean into that idea that you can't do what you used to do anymore and you have to do something different and actually make that happen?
Well, I'll tell you this. I allowed myself, when I worked for the International Paralympic Committee, and I was a young parent as well, and realized that I'm half the man I used to be in some places and twice the man in others. I quickly realized I needed, when I actually moved to Glasgow for the games, I needed to find a little bit more of a life balance in some respects. And so what I started was doing something similar to wrestling, but not as explosive or in some cases dramatic as wrestling, and that was JiuJitsu.
Okay.
And it's a particular form of jiu-jitsu, which is Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and that really became a critical part to my well-being, and it just gave me such perspective, and there were so many things I've been able to actually carry over to my working life and my personal life from jiu-jitsu. So it was actually, after studying different martial arts, I knew I wanted to kind of get back on the mat, so to speak. But I knew that I was going to be perpetually frustrated.
So how did the kind of the lessons from jiu-jitsu then shape you into becoming the CEO for the Commonwealth Games? How did you make that transition?
Well, jiu-jitsu is really fundamentally about establishing a connection with your opponent, and what that so connection in business, you can't understand what someone ultimately needs, wants, or where they're heading unless you have a connection. Good or bad, you need to connect. And so connection is critical. The other fundamental piece to jiu-jitsu is allowing yourself to feel direction. So it's really being aware of, am I being pulled or pushed in a certain direction?
Okay.
And that becomes, and that's understanding the difference, and that's, being pulled is like, okay, am I hesitant? Being pushed, wait a, am I being taken somewhere I don't necessarily want to go? And so that's critical. Having that level of self-awareness is really important. The third kind of principle that I've noticed has a direct parallel is pressure. Is it in the direction that we're going? Is it a heavy pressure or a light pressure? Is it a strong yank? Is it a soft nudge? And these types of awareness points, both physical, mental, and kind of psychosocial, are actually quite critical in group dynamics and teamwork and so forth. And then finally is about breathing. And that's it. So when you have someone who is on top of you, attacking you and grappling, your ability to stay calm under different conditions is critical. So breathing becomes a critical element to being able to either increase my tempo or decrease my tempo and stay calm in any given situation. So I've been able to find parallels to leadership and getting the best out of groups and so forth just through jiu-jitsu.
I'm going to ask you now about adversity, because I'm a great believer that when we experience adversity, although it's difficult at the time, we learn a lot from it and it shapes how we move forward. Have you had experiences of adversity along the way, and what's that meant for you?
Yeah, I mean, I in various ways. I mean, when I was young, growing up in New Orleans, this is very topical and has been most of my life, is the issues around racism in the deep south of the United States, the legacy of slavery all around you, yet no one talks about it or wants to talk about it. And it is, literally the elephant in the room your entire life. And you kind of just tolerate these behaviors and prejudice and bias and the whole notion of privilege and so forth. And I think one of the things that was great was that what transcended that for me was the sport of wrestling. I played American football as well. I ran track, did a couple of other sports, but wrestling in particular, saw no barriers, didn't see race, didn't see really any differences in terms of socioeconomic background or anything. And it was what you put into it is what you got from it. And from that standpoint, I felt incredibly fortunate to be able to develop skills to deal with all types of adversity, whether that was being in situations where people were deriving conflict or adversarial, standing up for principles. The notion of daring greatly, it taught me quite a bit. I had a career-ending injury to my right knee, and that's when something becomes so much a part of your identity and sense of belonging, and ends from one day to the next, being able to pick up the pieces quickly, that adversity, recovering from that, the trauma that came with that in some respects, was something that I had to work through as well, and on this journey, and learned a lot.
How do you do that? I mean, that's a huge thing to happen for an athlete.
Yeah, it's something that lives with you every day.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily you always recover, but you learn, and you learn how to cope,
accept
and accept. And I think that's it, really acknowledging and accepting and continuing to find other I call it ridge walking.
Nice.
And the reason is that it's important not to get sucked down into valleys, and have a number of ridges by which you can jump to and work to. Because if you put all of your energy on one bell curve, when your passion meets your obsession, as soon as you go beyond the point of passion and you become obsessive with something, you actually start to have diminishing returns. And actually the risk when you fail or something goes off the rails, or you simply just can't perform the way you used to in that, if you don't have another ridge to jump to, you will inevitably go into a valley.
You're a permanent failure, aren't you?
And I think it's understanding, it's developing skills to identify when you have diminishing returns, and when you can effectively jump to that next ridge versus get sucked down into the valley. And that's been something that's been absolutely critical, is to learn those skill sets. But I can tell you, it took a long time to accept, and there were some really low points, in terms of having to recover. And instead of the same discipline and effort and tenacity and probably obsessiveness in some cases that I had in my athletic career, I put into my work, and had similar success and also failures, which of course you inevitably learn from.
But of course, when you have that level of disappointment and subsequently need to build up the resilience to cope with that, it then charges you, doesn't it, for what comes next? And you recognise that you have the capability to deal with what's thrown at you because you've already faced into the worst thing that could. So it's remarkable that actually building that bounce back ability over time.
Yeah, I think that's it, is that we all have rings and bark.
Yes.
you know, so we've got our calluses to show, the strength of our labor, but we also have rings or wrinkles to show the experience of time. And we do also, I think those trees that stand the test of time have deep roots so that they can be flexible in the wind. And I think the more honest we are with ourselves, the deeper our roots go. If we can look back at ourselves and look at our past and look at what we've done both successfully or unsuccessfully. There's a wonderful social justice champion, Brian Stevenson, that has a wonderful saying: "We are all greater than the worst thing that we have done." And it's almost a license to go beyond those things that we are not proud of, those things that we distinguish our failures, but also look for the things that we are able to achieve. And I think there's lots of points that I have really pulled upon and learned from others that really set with my priorities and the way that I manage both my leadership now, but also myself as a student.
It's just fascinating talking to you because there's so much learning there in terms of what you've been through and the challenges and the learnings that you've had. And it's going to help lots of people, I think, to be able to resonate and to take some of your learnings and apply them to their own lives. So your openness is really valuable. Now, we're at the point in the podcast now where I put you under immense pressure.
Great.
I know. And I reckon, you're going to take this in your stride. This is just like jumping onto another ridge. It'll all be good.
Great.
Now, you're going to have 5 seconds to give me 3 answers to my question. So are you ready for this?
I'll try. Okay.
Born ready. Okay, so David, we're going to play the 5-second game rule. And in the 5-second game rule, I would love it if you could give me 3 things that you are grateful for.
Oh, goodness. Food, friends, and family.
The 3 Fs.
Yep.
I love it. And let's do another one. So in the 5-second game rule, can you give me your 3 favorite places in the world?
Oh, goodness. Brazil, New Orleans, and Scotland.
Oh, so 2 of those are places where you call home. I love that. And then, David, we are on to the ultimate question. Now, you've given us so many nuggets already, so I wonder whether you're going to pull from them. But in your mind and in your experience, what do you believe is the absolute secret to success?
Oh, forgiveness. And forgiveness and confidence.
Forgiveness. Do you know what? This is the first time on the podcast I've heard that word forgiveness as part of the secret to success. Let me just probe that a little bit. Is that forgiveness of others or forgiveness of yourself?
Both.
Absolutely.
Both. You need to learn how to forgive yourself for not being perfect or always meeting the ideals that you've set out, but you also need to learn how to forgive others.
Absolutely. And David, have you written a book?
Not yet, but it's been on the cards for some time, so it'll be in the making.
There's a book in you. I can just feel it. All of this wonderful wisdom needs to be on a page for people to read, because I think you're absolutely right. That forgiveness piece, it's certainly the thing that I experience most in my coaching room. When you can get to that place, it is so freeing. And allows you to just be who you want to be. Yeah. So I just love the fact that you've brought that, and then coupling that with confidence as well.
Yeah, I think confidence is something that it takes courage. It takes courage, and it takes it's tough. It's really it's really tough, and that's something I have often challenged myself. With is that, am I displaying a sense of confidence, and is it because I'm fearful of something, or because I have an interest in something, and not allowing myself to be overly anxious or overly self-absorbed or interested in anything. Getting that harness, the control and harnessing effect to be able to get the best out of myself and others. I've always found that that's quite important. And forgiveness, so many are held back because of often passive aggressive behavior or self-preservation in groups and teams, because people either don't know when to let go or don't know how to forgive.
Absolutely. You've just hit the nail on the head for me. I think, if you could put that on a meme and share that everywhere on social media, that is the one thing everybody could live by. I think it's amazing. It's just been a joy to have you on the show, and we could have gone off in so many different directions in half an hour. It's so not long enough. So maybe we'll have you back on it at another point. We did lose you a couple of times, but hopefully it won't have affected the experience, because everything that you did say when I did have you was just fabulous. So thank you, David.
Well, thank you, Angela. It's a real pleasure, and happy to tackle a particular topic with you, or just shoot the breeze, as they say. It's been really a pleasure to speak with you today.
Thank you very much. You take good care.
Great. Thank you so much.
I do hope that you enjoyed listening to the Mindset Mentor Meets podcast. If you did, be sure to check out the show notes to access all of those important links. For more about me, visit my website at www.angela-cox.co.uk. Now, I'd really love it if you could subscribe to our channel so that you never miss an episode, and do leave us a 5-star review, because it really helps us to get noticed. Bye for now. I do hope that you'll tune in next week, and take good care.